beautiful souls. I am so excited about this conversation. We've got Laura Tynan in the house, and I heard her on another podcast. And I remember being like, I have got to have her on this podcast. I've got to know her. So, you guys, we're in for a real treat. She is the founder of The Witch of Wall Street, which you know is my vibe 110%, where women are supported to become financially empowered and build their wealth through investing in the stock market. She holds a bachelor's degree in finance. She's a chartered accountant, and she's spent a decade working in international finance. She's been recognized as a top 20 future female leader by the Financial Times and as a global champion of women in business by Yahoo Finance. She's an international multi-award winning speaker. She's been featured in places like Forbes and so many other places. So, Laura, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to dig in with you today.
Christina, I'm so excited for this conversation we're about to have. All the witchy, all the woo, all the wealth. So yes, let's get started.
I love it. So, what I think is so cool about you, so you had this incredible career in finance, and then you actually decided to kind of turn it on its head a little bit and start this movement helping women become financially empowered and tap into their witchiness. And I'm curious, share with us more about what this actual movement is and how you've been able to combine the two of finance and woo-woo into a space that really supports financial empowerment. Tell us more about that.
Yes. So, the Witch of Wall Street, it is the home of wealth and woo from both the witchy side and then the more kind of strategic, practical side when we look at investing. And that all came about because that really is my own path as well. So, as you mentioned, I studied finance. I'm a chartered accountant. I spent the better part of a decade working within the financial industry. But that's not the only part of my story. I also took a massive gamble on myself and, flew to Toronto to be mentored by Bob Proctor. I've traveled around the world learning from the likes of Tony Robbins and so many other mentors. And so the kind of witchy side, the woo side, especially from Bob Proctor, learning about mindset and manifestation and the power of our thoughts, and that we are these radiators out of energy and we're attracting back the same vibe. That is what shifted everything for me. That is what enabled me to move to London to get this incredibly exciting career in finance where I was literally traveling the world. And that's what got me to sit with multimillionaires, with a billionaires on a couple of occasions. And
Mm.
so my success in finance is a massive result and a testament to the success of the witchy side of things. And, witch, there's an amazing book by Lisa Lister, is a term that used to be used in a very derogative way for women, especially, and it was used as a way to isolate women, to break up sisterhood. And instead of that, it's like taking back that word as a form of empowerment, as a form of a witch is someone who's in tune with her own power, the power of the feminine energy, and marrying that with financial empowerment for me is like the 360 all-encompassing self of an empowered woman who is in tune with her own power and has the money to go after whatever she wants in life, either leave what's not working and run towards what she really desires. So the Witch of Wall Street is that embodiment of my own journey, but also bridging these worlds together that oftentimes do not meet, but I think are so powerful that when they do.
So good. So good. I am so curious. What was it specifically that you learned from Bob Proctor that you were like, well, that's going to change my life? I'm so curious knowing that you got to mentor with him and lean into his energy. Were there certain things that he said that just changed the way that you showed up in life?
God, meeting Bob Proctor was such a transformational point for me. And there were so many coincidences when I met him, including the fact we had the same birthday. We began our junior personal development at the same age, about 23. And so meeting him, not only was it just like a very incredible experience because he's such an amazing teacher, but I walked away from that time with him with the absolute certainty that whatever you can literally visualize in your mind, you can create in your reality. And what I loved about his teachings is it wasn't hoping and wishing and crossing your fingers and praying to God, just, I hope this works. It was like he was sharing almost like the science behind it of like, this is how energy works. These are the vibration patterns. And if you can see it, then you're picturing the spiritual realm. It's on a spiritual level. Then you're
Mhm.
bringing it into the mental realm, the mental energetics by visualizing it and imagining it and living in that daydream. And the next level is the physical realm, is the physical reality of energy. And so it took away this kind of wishful thinking or hopeful thinking, and it brought it back to, oh, this is like, if I breathe in, I will breathe out. Like, this is the most natural thing to happen. And so, for that, it gave me so much confidence to go after things, to take seemingly risky decisions, because I knew it would work out. Now, I didn't always know when or how, but I knew it had to. The vision had to come into fruition as long as I held it and as long as I kept that faith, because I had the understanding of what was happening. And that level of certainty just was transformational. So I think that was probably the biggest takeaway, just that level of certainty and groundedness of like, go after what you want. It will work out.
Mm. So powerful.
Mm.
Like, just and witnessing that, because the first time I'm sure you did that was a huge leap where you were like, let's see if this actually works, and then you start to witness it, and then it's like more and more evidence that yes, what I desire is meant for me. Let me just continue to take that leap. So it's so powerful. I love that. Because I think often, myself included, for a long time, it's like, oh, I need to look for the evidence outside of myself that it's okay to make the jump. And it's like, no, we make the jump and then 3D starts to connect, or it starts to, follow our lead, if you will, from an energetics perspective. So I think that's so powerful. And a question that I'm curious about too, having worked with even billionaires, was there something about their energy that you noticed was a little bit different from, let's say, the everyday person that might not be as financially free? Like when you connect into their energy or maybe the way that they did life, was there something there that stood out that you found to be really significant?
Yeah, the first word that jumps to mind, and this is such a good question, is calm, like a sense
Mm.
of calmness around them. Like
Yeah.
my own mentor when I was working in finance was incredibly successful. And we could be in, I worked for a moment in a type of advisory called distressed advisory. We
Mm.
worked with the most distressed companies who had 500 million in debt, and hedge funds wanted to turn them around. And so we'd come in to have these companies restructure and turn around. So even in the midst of a distressed advisory situation, my mentor, the billionaire of the company, so calm.
Mm.
And it reminded me of something Bob Proctor. He actually gave us all a printout of a piece of literature called Serenity, by Thomas Allen. It's just a very short piece, and it's all about calmness of mind. And the
Mm.
person who can tune into that sense of calmness is the powerful person. And he was always talking about being relaxed. And you mentioned at the beginning of our podcast before we hit play about like, relaxing into this, being a conduit for whatever universe wants to flow through us. And we can't be a conduit if we're tight and tense.
Mhm.
Being relaxed in our body and in our energy, as Bob explained it, and as I witnessed in these incredibly financially successful individuals, was the way that energy and the things began to flow for them and work out really well.
Mhm.
So I suppose that's why practices like meditation or body movement and things just to relax the body and allow that stress and any tension and any buildup of energy to actually release can be so powerful. And I think especially when we link it back to manifestation and aligning with their goals energetically, to be in that place of a calm energy, of an ease and a relaxation almost.
Mhm. I love that so much. And it's just so beautiful because it's true. It's like if you already have the thing, you're not stressed about the thing. So embody that energy now,
Yeah.
and I think that's so powerful. So would you say, I'm curious of some of the woo woo practices that you do that you've noticed has been most supportive with building wealth? What are some of those practices? Is it embodying the calm, or are there other things that you do that you found have been really supportive for manifesting in that wealth?
Yeah, so if there's something I'm really going after, like I've created my own process called Create, which is like getting clarity on what you want, recognizing resistance, and emotionally releasing that resistance,
Mm.
affirming your new reality, turn up as a transformed version of you, and then emotionally connect with it, which is very much about delving into like the science. So again, it's faith-based and understanding. So that's the kind of process I always follow for myself, any witches that I'm working with. But on a day-to-day basis, I take it back to basics
Mhm.
because it's kind of like almost with our diet and nutrition. Like there's so many of these ways to biohack your life, but then you go, but are you getting enough sleep? Are you
Mhm.
eating? Are you moving every day? Like, what about the basics? Are you just drinking enough water? And I find the same with manifestation or, whenever we're trying to create something in our reality, it's like we can get so caught up in all the different ways there are to manifest, especially nowadays on Instagram. There's like so many different hacks and tricks, and someone's telling you that, oh, if only you do this thing that I'm going to give you, then you'll be able to manifest it. And it's like taking it out of you. But for me,
Mhm.
it's like coming back to the basics of gratitude every morning, like getting into that space of gratitude. Like it is the most powerful energy vibration is saying, no, but like
Mhm.
doing your gratitude journaling. I love my vision video. I watch it. I feel like I'm in it. I'm living in it and it shifts my whole energy. And a big one that I work on because I was the future tripping witch who was always living in the future and like so goal orientated that I'd miss out now a little bit is really to come back to presence, be in the present, like, and in that space, nothing worries you. Like, if
Mhm.
you're truly just here, like, I'm here with you, Christina, all is well. But if I'm thinking about how am I going to reach that goal? What's going to happen? How's this going to work out? It takes out of the present, which is your place of power, and catches you
Mhm.
somewhere else that doesn't exist yet. So yeah, I like to bring things back to basics, keep it simple. And that has always been the most powerful for me. It's when I see like when I know I'm doing those things and I feel so connected and grounded, things flow so much easier. So yeah, there's the process, but there's the daily
Mhm.
things to keep things grounded.
I love that. I feel like our mind loves to overcomplicate things and make
Yes.
it, really unnecessarily complex. And it's like when we can get back to just the present moment and the gratitude. And I think a big, like a powerful part of that too is feeling it when we're doing it is number one. Because sometimes I get stuck in like, okay, daily gratitude practice. Here we go. I'm grateful for. And it was like, oh, I'm missing the plot here. Like I have to actually like embody the energy of like feeling the deep gratitude for it and like really being present in the moment to the little things that suddenly I would have missed had I been focused on something else. So I just love the way that you put that, where it's like, let's get back to the simple things, because that's actually what I do feel like, as you were talking about the billionaire, like the billionaire mindset, it kind of like, if we're not worried about that thing, we can really drop into the present. And it's like, what if we just dropped into the present now? It's going to allow that thing to come in with even more ease too. So, so powerful. I
It's
love
so
that.
powerful. And then something to add on, it's like sometimes we can have these routines that we feel like we must do in order
Mhm.
to be successful. And they almost become a burden or like, oh, my day won't go well unless I do this. I have to do this. And then that's the completely wrong energy to be
Mm.
bringing to your gratitude practice. Or, for example, with like vision board, the vision videos, which I love, if you're watching it, but you're like, oh, I don't have it yet or
Mhm.
I'm not there yet, and actually watching it makes you feel more detached from the vision,
Mhm.
and stop, like, stop in that
Mhm.
moment, like, it's not serving you, it's not serving its purpose. So, it's definitely what you said of, like, it's more the energy of when you're doing the practice versus the practice in itself. So,
Yes.
definitely coming back and, like, tuning in saying, "Okay, if I am sitting down to do gratitude, like, am I actually feeling grateful when I write this down, or am I just doing, 'Okay, my gratitude journal's done, tick the box, watched my vision video. I feel kind of crappy now that I haven't got there yet. But anyway, that's tick because that's not the right space to be coming at it from.
Mhm.
So really good reminder as well too, Christina.
Yeah. And, I love this idea of the vision video. Share with us kind of your practice, like how you create it. What does that look like? Because I know a lot of people are familiar with vision boarding. Tell us about the
Mhm.
video and how you actually create that for yourself.
Yeah, so I've been using vision videos, I think probably since 2015 when I started working with Bob way back when. And, initially it was something I just did on whatever software I had at the time, but now you can just use Canva. And
Mhm.
what I do is, it's all about getting your mind to believe it, right? Your subconscious mind to really buy into this vision as if it's already your reality.
Mm.
So, what I find really helpful to do that is not just to have images and, triggers or symbols of your future, but also have including things of your past. So it's like it almost helps your conscious mind to kind of move past the this is a future thing, this is a hoping thing. Cause like when I'll put in things, I'll be like, you know, if I want to go speak on bigger stages, I'll add in images of when I've already spoken on different stages. Or, for example, when I've spoken on Forbes, because that anchors in, I've shown myself success in this area. So this next level I want to get to isn't that crazy. So here, subconscious mind, this has already happened and it's already reality for me. So then adding in the future things doesn't feel like it's separated anymore. So my vision video is definitely like, it's laying out the future of my life in terms of relationship and health, wealth, business, impact, all these things, and adding in examples from my past where I've already manifested these things. And for me, I find that really grounding, and it anchors in the belief that yes, this is the reality that's happening for me. So it's mixing in both, which I think are really awesome.
Mm, I love it, and I'm sure there's music that's playing in the background too. Do you
Oh
have
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Oh yeah,
music
of
will
course.
move us, like, if you can imagine watching a movie without music, it would just fall so flat, it's like that music is so pivotal in bringing out emotions and feelings, and so, uh, I'm definitely gonna start to do a vision video. I'm already kind of witnessing it in my mind's eye right now, and I'm like, "Let's do this." I love it.
It's so powerful, and if you think about watching, like, a horror movie where, like,
Mhm.
sometimes you'd be grabbing onto, like, a
Yes,
cushion and you're like, "Oh,
yes,
no." But
yes,
we all know if you're sitting in your lounge watching this on a TV, like, not there's
right.
no danger, but
Yes.
your subconscious mind doesn't know that, so we have this, like, physical reaction to it because 'cause we're so engrossed in the movie,
Mhm.
and so the intention is to have the same kind of response from your subconscious when you're watching this vision video, but obviously not from a terrified point of view, but
Right, for sure, yes.
really feeling engaged, like, "Oh my god, this is really happening." The conscious mind doesn't know whether it's reality or not, so, might
Mhm.
as well play with that benefit.
Absolutely. Do you find you have, like, these deja vu moments where you're living almost like the video of your life and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I think this is in my video." Like, of course it is. That's what I see on my vision board where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, when I put that together, like, I kind of thought it would happen," and there was, like, a part of me that was like, "Of course it will," and just kinda put it off to the side, and then it will
Yeah.
happen, and I'm like, "It's on my vision board." It's like a deja vu moment. Do you have those too?
Oh my goodness, so many times, and
Yeah.
one stands out for me when you were talking about, like, music and things, and I used to have my a vision board up on my wall in my bedroom, and next to it was my rebounder, so I jump it on the morning and
Mm.
start rebounding, moving my body, and be, like, looking at my vision board and, like, talking through, like, the I am and, just my own
Yes.
affirmations around it, and I remember one day I was, like, jumping and I was saying about my podcast, and I had to stop, and I was like, one of my goals, that I wanted to manifest was launching a top 10 podcast.
Yeah.
And I was jumping going, "Oh, wait, I've already done it." Like, it
Yes.
happened. It was
Yeah.
in a reality already, and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy." It's not crazy because you know how it happens, but
Right.
it's kind of almost catches you sometimes. You're like, "Oh, yeah, no, I have manifested that now. It's I can come off the
Mhm.
vision board and
Yeah.
replace it with something else." Yeah, so lots of those moments.
I love those moments so much. They keep life so juicy, it's and just like and being present too also keeps it so juicy where you're like, I would have missed this if I was on my phone or doing something different, just like really being in the moment with the person, like here now. There's such a difference. So yeah, I
Oh,
absolutely.
massively. I think that's the biggest lesson is really as much as you can anchoring into the present. And that's definitely the learning lesson that I'm constantly on of like, stop getting caught up in the future. I don't go so much to the past. It's always the future, where I'm going, what I'm creating next, where I want to get to. And it's like constantly just like putting myself back to the present, grounding. And it's so powerful and so important.
It is, it is. It's so true. Because that actually has us rooted, and those are the moments too where I find, like, I used to be like, "Go, go, 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 go," and I would miss the big sign that's like, "Turn left here," and it was like, I would just keep going straight, and it's like, "Oh, wow, that was the fast track." Had I been in the moment, I would have turned. And so now
Mm.
I'm in the moment, and now for the most part, I still will catch myself oscillating, but now I'm like, "Whoa, those pivotal moments, had I not been present or started my day with grounding, I would not
Yeah.
have, like, seen the turn sign," and now it's like it just reiterates and collects more evidence around the power of being present and grounding into that moment. Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Mm.
100%.
Yeah. So what I love too is, I know a huge part of your mission is, wealth empowerment for women. And I know that, there's still that age gap or it's their age gap. There's still like that wealth gap between like men and women. And I know we've kind of talked about like what can we start to do both individually and collectively to actually start to close that gap a little bit more?
Yeah. I mean, Like, the reality is that women are playing catch up when it comes to finances, and it has nothing to do with women's abilities or skills or intellect or gifts or anything. It's a society thing.
Mm,
Like, there's really interesting research that was done showing like money media, how they target about 70% of money media targeting men, talks about investing, talks about building your wealth. It's a very masculine thing to do. Where about 65% of money media targeting women, it's about saving, it's about cutting back, spending less, and using the latest couponing hack. They're
mm,
two very different narratives that are being sent out. And we do become what we eat. You are what you eat, and we become what we consume, and media is no different. So
yeah.
we consume these media messages, these narratives, these stories unconsciously. And so they're being filtered through our mind, and they become a reality for women collectively.
Mm,
Added to that, the 1960s, 70s was only when women got access to having their own bank accounts, credit cards, mortgages in their own name without a male cosigner. And I
mhm,
was born in the 80s, and that's only a decade beforehand. It's not
mhm,
that long ago.
mhm,
So we are playing this sense of catch up. And I always bring this up to remind women, again, not to focus on it or harp on it, but to remind women, like, if you feel any particular negative way, like I should be better with money, or I should know about investing, or I should be further along, it's like you can throw all those shoulds out the door because it's actually not your fault. There has
mhm,
been a lot of systemic things up against women for a very, very long time. Thankfully, that tide is changing despite the fact we still see wealth gaps, pension gaps, pay gaps, all these things. Like, the tide is turning. The fact that a company like the Witch of Wall Street can exist today
mhm,
is testament to that, because women want to know, right? And it's becoming more normalized. And a big part of our mission is to write a new financial her story. I say the history for women has not been so great when it comes to money. So let's write a new her story instead. And there's a
mhm,
great appetite from that for women as well who want to become more financially empowered. I think women are great when it comes to tuning in and connecting with money and being able to manifest that when they really get going. And the next level for me is like, okay, but now what are you going to do with the money that you've earned? Right?
mhm,
You've worked for your money, either doing something you don't like, hopefully doing something you do love. But now, how are you going to put your money to work for you?
mhm,
And honestly, Christina, I see investing as one of the most feminine energy practices you can do, you can even be involved in, even though so many people think it's so male dominated and very masculine energy, because you literally put your money to work, you move on with your life, and the stock market is making your money work for you. It's making money for you, and you have nothing else to do. And
mhm,
what a beautiful way of just receiving abundance for the money that you've already manifested. So
mhm,
why not lean into this? Why not use this amazing mechanism, this amazing tool that's available to us to allow our money to serve us, right? And be our friend and work for us instead of the other way around. So, there's a lot of hurdles still to overcome. I think the biggest one is mindset. In the Witch of Wall Street and the system that I take my students through, my wealthy witches, as I call them, obviously we look at strategy, but mindset's a big piece. And I'm sure you know this yourself in the work that you do. You can tell someone what to do, but if they don't believe it's possible for them, if they don't overcome whatever that block is from childhood, from ancestry, maybe their parent invested in the stock market and lost a lot of money, or maybe they were always told they weren't good at maths, or whatever the narrative may be, if they don't overcome whatever that is that's been stopping them, or maybe they grew up as I did, thinking that men were better with money, that men were the ones that managed money, and maybe they've just been outsourcing it up until now. But if they don't get over those things, then never get to the point that they can actually say, "Oh, I can do this." And
mhm.
me managing my own money and me being in control of my finances is actually really important. So the mindset piece is a hurdle, but a hurdle I think a lot of women are ready to overcome and actually change the narrative too for.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. And I love how you've shifted, if there's ever that internal dialogue around I'm too far behind, I don't know what I'm doing, it's like shedding
Yeah.
light on that. It's like it's not your fault. You weren't taught that. I think about that all the time. I'm like, we could change the school systems and be taught, taxes,
Oh,
like stock markets, emotional intelligence. This world would
yeah.
be a different place. And maybe I believe that that will change in our time. That is something I'm holding energy for and kind of putting out into the universe, planting seeds around that. And I love that you're shedding light on that too for the women that might be like, oh, but is it too late? Or should I just give it to the man to deal with because I don't even know where to start? So, for someone, let's say, who knows nothing about the stock market, where does someone like that begin? So that would be myself included. I know like very little about the stock market. So where would someone like me begin to start to lean into that space? Does it make sense let's start there. Like where would someone like that begin?
I mean, if I can say, I would just say, come to one of my workshops. We
Mhm.
spend an hour genuinely, and I just take you through everything in a really simplified way, in a very simplified system, showing you step by step what's involved. Right. And I can share that with you now in a very quick nutshell.
Mhm.
Before any time I show a woman how to invest, I'm like, our first starting point has to be, where are you currently? You wouldn't put into
Mhm.
Google Maps where you want to get to if you don't know your current location. And I know it's
Yeah.
a metaphor that's been used many times in different scenarios, but it stands true for investing as well. If you're not really sure about what's happening with your personal finances, it's not time to invest yet. The first step, and this doesn't need to take very long, is setting yourself a money date. It's not about how much money you're making, it's about what you're doing with that money.
Mhm.
And so there's so many women that I've worked with who didn't think they had enough to invest, and we take them through this money date and the money games that we play, and they find that they're able to free up money in areas that was being used on things unconsciously, or that wasn't in alignment with their values, or
Mhm.
areas that they can cut back or renegotiate, like build in subscriptions and all these things. And they're able to free up extra cash that they can redivert then to invest.
Mhm.
So the understanding your personal finances is key first and foremost, right? It's really getting confident managing your money yourself. I always say no one's going to care about your money as much as you do. It's not something to outsource, in my opinion, to like a partner, to a financial advisor. Like women who come through my programs, I'm like, we're going to take you on a money date. And if you are married or if you're in a relationship, we're going to take you and your partner on a money date as well. It's
Mhm.
so important that you're both on the same page, right? It's not
Mhm.
something, because I've seen too many times where it's gone wrong in relationships, and it can lead to very interesting dynamics and power plays and financial power plays. So for the majority of women, and hopefully like for most women listening, that will never be an issue, but it's always good just to never be blind to what's happening with your money.
Mhm.
So money date is always first, understanding your finances, understanding your joint finances, if you're married, if you've joined bank accounts and all that. And then the second step is understanding how the financial markets work, right? Don't invest in what you don't understand. I would never say to you, okay, let's just start investing in the stock market. And you're like, I don't know what the stock market is or where it exists. Where is it? Do I call it up? Like,
Mhm.
what happened? So it's really about understanding the financial markets. And again, it doesn't have to take 4 years of a finance degree to understand that. It's about just understanding key things. And the reason that's so important is that, 2 weeks ago, the S&P, the US market, took a bit of a nosedive. A lot of investors lost a lot of money because they didn't know how to respond to that. They didn't have the financial education of understanding really what's happening in the market, and they sold and they lost a lot of money and they missed out on the upturn. Right? It's a terrible strategy. It's a very fast way to lose money. And so when people come to me and they think investing is risky, I'm like, it is if you don't know what you're doing. But if you
Mhm.
understand how the financial markets work, you understand what's really going on. And again, it doesn't take that long. I take women through this in 4 to 6 weeks, from complete newbie to they have their investment account set up, it's done, they feel confident, they don't need a financial advisor, they're moving on with their life. They check in on things once a month on their money date. It doesn't have to take that long to do it. You just need to get rid of all the fluff and all the noise and just get to what you need to know. So understanding how the financial markets work, and then you need to know what investments to make. Of course, there's so many different options, and then taking action. Right? It's a big piece, not just to be an informed investor, but an actual action taker. So having the courage and confidence, which can be a little bit unsettling for a lot of women when it's so out of their comfort zone. And learning can feel sometimes a little bit comfortable, like we're doing something, we're moving forward, we're making progress. And when it comes to actually opening up your investment account and clicking buy, that can be the nerving part. So the Wealthy Witch action plan is what I call it. It's holding your hand step by step, taking action, getting your money invested, even starting small. And then find the investor mindset. It's the big piece. And I say, I want you to be the Beyonce of investing, not a one hit wonder, right? I
Mhm.
want you to have long term success investing. And the mindset piece, understanding the financial markets, is really how you get there and do that. So that
Oh
would be
my,
in a nutshell.
yeah, I know, right? You're like, if I could
Nutshell, maybe.
sum this up in 5 minutes, let's try. No, but that's completely comprehensible. Like I can understand the process that you walk people through, the importance of every single one of those steps. And I do love the idea of like it demystifies every step of the process. I find that what we don't understand, we put on pedestals. Typically, I do this where I'm like, if I don't understand it, I'll put it on a pedestal. And it's like the second we can start to bring it down onto our level, look at it eye to eye, better understand like, what is this? Let me understand this. Let me just get curious. The easier, the more powerful you become at allowing yourself to really like lean into the energy of the experience and demystify is such a huge part of that. Like looking at our finances, just that beginning part, I think is so powerful too. I love the idea of like a lot of women probably coming in and being like, I don't know if I have enough to do this. And then realizing, things that we're buying that are out of alignment that we just had on auto pay that, even something as simple or as small as that could be, something that could really start to work for you. And I just love that concept. You're making it so simple.
Yeah, and I like a lot of women, and I was there at one point in my life, like the nerves that can come up over the anxiety coming up of opening up even your bank account.
Mhm,
So it's step by step. I'm never going to say, okay, jump in, go invest tomorrow. It's like, we'll take you through the process because this is for long term. It's
mhm,
long term success. You're going to be in a relationship with money until the day you leave this earth physically. And perhaps even beyond that, if you want to invest for a family or you want to leave generational wealth, your money will potentially outlive you then in that case. So investing in this relationship and really getting it right. And again, as I said, it doesn't have to take months. We're talking about weeks.
mhm,
Changing that relationship is so paramount. And since we're talking about witchy stuff and manifestation, how much more powerful are your money affirmations and your money manifestation techniques when you're not trying to believe that you're good with money or that money flows to you, but you
mhm,
actually now know you are. You've got
mhm,
things set up in your finances and you know the stock market is making money for you. It
mhm,
it completely transforms even that whole aspect around manifestation. So, as I said, like investing is a very feminine energy practice, in my belief. It's just allowing money to work for you. And the biggest thing is it doesn't have to take years to figure out or a finance degree to understand. This
mhm.
is, we're talking about a couple of weeks with, you know, this is how we've broken it down, take out the fluff, all the noise, and just the key things that you actually need to know to be successful.
Mhm. I love that too. And for those that are like, "Oh, I'm scared to open up my bank account." It sounds like even taking one of your workshops where you guys are doing the money dates and kind of like hand holding through that process. I feel like that could be something that's when you're doing it in community and tribe, I feel like that does take away some of the fear. Like when we're just left to our own devices, like, "Oh, I'll open it tomorrow or maybe next week," But I do feel like if you're in a collective energy where you're all like kind of stepping to that edge, you're all stepping in together. I feel like there's something really powerful in that for sure.
Oh, massively. And you
Yeah.
have other women from the other side of the world sharing like, "Oh, I just had a money date with my partner and actually it brought up a lot of emotions and it was kind of tough." And someone on the other side of the world is like, "Well, I did too." And
Mhm.
they can share and support each other and you just know you're not alone. Like what you're going through,
Yes.
you're not the only one. And again, coming back to like women weren't predominantly taught this, and there's a whole social narrative that women aren't as good as with money as men, which is complete BS. It's
Mhm.
just a narrative that we unconsciously have kind of bought into somewhere along the road. But women actually are statistically better investors than men. We're less emotional investors.
Mhm.
So, that even goes to show that not only is this narrative outdated, it's not even true. So, there's a lot that we're breaking down in terms of these barriers for women when it comes to investing. And one of the biggest compliments I've ever received is when someone said, "Your investing class was really fun." And I was like, "This is
Mhm.
amazing." For women
Yes,
thinking
yes.
investing is fun. Like, why not bring that fun, witchy energy? Like, we
Mhm.
can tap at the beginning of things. We do breath work with their investing sessions.
Mhm.
These worlds don't need to live in separation. Like, it's all energy, it's all money, it's all energy. So you can go manifest over here, you can go let your money work for you over here in the stock market. Like, it's all just this beautiful unison in that way.
Mhm. I love that so much, and I love that you're bringing in, the tapping and the breath work, things like that where It helps us kind of get over that little edge or that little sticking point, right? I think that's so powerful, especially with such a charged topic like money. This just happened to be, one of the bigger charged topics that we have. Used to be like cocoa beans, and then it shifted to dirty paper and money on a screen or numbers on a screen. And it's like so funny. We
Yeah.
bring our baggage to paper, and at
Mhm.
the end of the day, it's like, wow, those are just something that I get to heal. And how powerful is that we have the tools to do that?
No,
Mm,
it's so true. And that's why I also like I love the work that you're doing
mhm.
on the energetic side of it, because
Yeah.
it all plays together. Where it's
Mhm.
not one or the other. It's like this beautiful combination of all of it, which is
Mm.
very cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. We had talked about, investing secrets. They were like, there's some investment secrets or some investing secrets that the financial industry might not actually want you to know. What are some of those? Can you shed some light on those for people that are
Yeah.
curious?
Yeah, the financial industry has its whole own language to
Hmm.
make investing and anything around finances feel really complicated.
Hmm.
That's why the financial advisory industry, the investment advisory industry, is a multi-billion-dollar industry because they've convinced people that they can't do it themselves and that they have to hire someone. And typically, you're hiring an advisor who's you're overpaying for underperformance. You can get a better performance yourself because you're avoiding all the ridiculous fees that are involved. Your
Yeah.
investment advisor will get paid whether they make you money or not. And a lot of people don't know that. And
Hmm.
they're shocked when they realize I've just paid them, but they haven't made me any money. They've lost me money this year.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of, I would say, secrets in the industry. And only because I've studied finance for so long that I understand the terminology and I can see it for what it is. But they use different terms for very simplified things. They
Hmm.
convince you that you can't do it yourself, which is one of the biggest myths and fears that so many people face. Some other secrets or so-called secrets, as I would say, is that investing in the stock market is really risky or it's like gambling. And it's not. Gambling is gambling. Stock picking, day trading, that's all in the gambling arena. That is you guessing what's going to happen in the future. It's a terrible strategy. Someone who's on Robinhood and is guessing the next bet on the next stock that's going to take off, that's a terrible strategy. In the long run, everybody is losing money in that way. But
Hmm.
everyone wants to talk about their winners, what they won on, and no one talks about the losers. The best way to actually go about investing that is 100% guaranteed to make you money in the long run, if we're looking at a long-term period, is investing in the long term, investing in things like index funds, like ETFs, which are
Hmm.
exchange traded funds. And those two words are pretty much interchangeable, right? So let me just also explain if someone's like, what word has she just said? What the heck is an index fund or an ETF? Like, Laura, back it up. I'm still just understanding what the stock market is.
Uh-huh.
How I like to break it down is like, you can invest in individual stocks. Maybe we back it up a little bit more. When you look at the stock market, you already are familiar with the concept because I'm sure you've attended a farmer's market,
Hmm.
right? At a farmer's market, you're buying goods from the farmer, maybe your veg, your fruit, your flowers, whatever. A stock market is the exact same. It's this place, this online platform now, this marketplace online where you're buying stocks. So instead of farmer's goods, you're buying financial goods, which are stocks. And stocks are just pieces of companies. It's why you can go onto the stock market and buy a piece of Apple or a piece of Amazon or a piece of Tesla. So then you become a shareholder. You're holding a share or a piece of stock in this company. So there's over 40,000 stocks to choose from. And a lot of times people are guessing on the performance of stocks and they don't always win. So it's actually quite a risky game to play for most investors. So the alternative, which is a much more tried and tested, proven strategy to be successful investing in the long term, is investing in these things called index funds. Now, anywhere I say index funds, you can just swap that with ETF, or it's called an exchange traded fund. They're pretty much the exact same. And an index fund, if we break it down, an index is simply a list, right? A very popular one, which I'm sure you've heard of, is the S&P 500
Hmm.
index. It's
Hmm.
a US index. S&P is the company Standard & Poor's. They put together this index, this list of the top 500 companies in the US. So that is the S&P 500 index. It's a list put together by Standard & Poor's of the top 500 companies in the US. And then they put this list into a basket, a virtual basket of sorts,
Hmm.
right? So this basket is then what you can invest in. So
Hmm.
instead of saying, hey, Christina, you can invest in all 500 companies individually, and then you have to track their performance, if they're doing well, if they're failing. You're going to have to constantly monitor that. Instead, forget all that. Here's the basket with the list in it. Invest in this one basket with one investment, and now you're going to get exposure to 500 companies. And you know what? To make it even better, if one of the companies in that list stops performing well, we're going to remove it and replace it with a better performing company. And you have to do nothing. You have nothing to worry about. Just keep investing in this basket. You're going to keep investing in the US economy, and you're very well diversified and you have nothing more to do. It is such a powerful way to grow your money, such an incredible way to build financial freedom. And it is so much easier and simpler than investing in individual stocks, trying to stock pick or anything else. And
Mm.
so a lot of what we do in the Witch of Wall Street is taking women through the step-by-step of opening your investment account, your online broker, choosing the right tax saving investment accounts, which is where you'll do your investing, and then deciding which funds to actually go invest in, the S&P 500 being one of them.
Mhm.
So as much as we can try and break it down and simplify, the aim right now is to get people listening to at least understand conceptually like what investing can look like, that
Mhm.
it isn't that complicated, that you just need someone to kind of break down some of the terminology and realize actually, okay, I could do this. This sounds figure outable. Like this is
Mhm.
doable, right? And like if someone walks away from listening to this being like, oh yeah, I think I could do that with a little bit of guidance, like this feels now more accessible, then that is awesome. I feel like we've won on this
Yes.
podcast.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of which, where can someone lean in to learn more and to just start to really connect with you? Because I am positive that so many people who are listening are like, that sounds tangible and I want to lean in. Where can we start to lean in with you?
Well, I would direct you probably to my website at the first place, lauratynan.com. And then from there, you can see that we have workshops going on. You can join one of those. Or if you want to, if you're a book person and you want to order the book or listen to the podcast or connect on social media, everything is on the website. And it's probably where you're going to be best suited to start.
Mm. Oh my gosh, Laura, this was amazing. I learned so much. I'm so grateful. Yeah, for the simplification and the ease and the just making it tangible but fun. I mean, like you're just a force to be reckoned with. I'm so grateful for all of your knowledge and for all of the wisdom that you brought into this space. So seriously, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
Christina, literally, I'm like buzzing with like such beautiful energy, and just thank you so much for allowing me to come into this
Mm.
beautiful space that you've created and connect with your amazing audience too, and share this. You know, there's not many spaces that women are talking about investing, so really appreciate the space that you've created that I can come and do this with you as well. And it's been magic. So just thank you genuinely for having me on.
Yes, of course. And for everyone who's tuning in, thank you so much for sharing your most precious resource with us, your time. We just love you from the
Mhm.
bottom of our hearts. And until next time.